Hi, everybody. Let's get this started.
All right.
Kat Timpf Show. Hi. How's it going, Ben? Ben
I'm
Kissel,
good.
my guest, Ben Kissel.
Yes.
How
thanks
was that for a shaky opening? I'm just gonna stick with it.
It was great. We were talking before the show. You had eye makeup. You woke up with eye makeup smeared all over your face,
My face.
which was good. I said that was better than having it smeared all over your ass, like a bizarre bagel that got drunk the night before or something like that. So
How would that work?
I have no clue how that would work. If you wake up with eye makeup on your ass, you have a lot of questions to ask yourself. And did you have the greatest night of all time, or was this something that will never be spoken of again?
I had a pretty good night last night.
That's good. You look horrible. I just have to say, you're a very attractive woman, and you've managed to overcome that and look atrocious. So congratulations. You're breaking all stereotypes.
I know, it's true. I look horrible. I woke up this morning, man. Like it looked like I'd been sobbing all night.
You look wonderful.
That's
as
not
always.
true. Now you're like, I don't understand why my under eye circles are like going above my eyes right now.
You know what? I have that same problem all the time. I feel like a heavyweight boxer that just got done fighting Evander Holyfield or Mike Tyson in their prime. But in reality, it was multiple keg stands and then around 11:30 at night shouting for whiskey. And then you wake up as if you've just been in a heavyweight boxing bout. So that's why we both look the exact same way.
Nice. So yeah, you had some whiskey?
Always.
Yeah, I had whiskey, tequila, Stella, and
you almost had the three, the three wise men. Whiskey, tequila, and I believe a gin or maybe a vodka might be thrown in there.
Yeah.
But you threw in a Stella, so sort of more of an...
To hydrate myself, and now I'm drinking a beer.
You have to. Stay hydrated.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, this is the first Kat Timpf Show since we found out that we're going to be starting next year in Donald Trump's America.
Donald Trump's America, January 20th, 2017. Donald Trump will take over the POTUS Twitter account, so mark your calendars and send your nudes his way. I'm sure he's going to love getting those direct messages if they have an open account. I mean, it's really going to be astonishing. I talked ad nauseum about this on my show on Cave Comedy Radio called Abe Lincoln's Top Hat. So if you want to go and listen to that, I think you'll find, if you are feeling anxious or nervous or if you're very happy, I think you would like that show, Abe Lincoln's Top Hat. Check that out. Yeah, how do you feel, Kat?
Well, I was here when, so we did Barstool News Network, where it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I anchored it with Dave and Riggs, which is not it was like a joke, but we were calling states. We were using like bookies instead of CNN, and
Perfect.
we were calling them all hours ahead of time, and we were correct.
Did you predict my home state of Wisconsin, the firewall for Hillary Clinton, going so early?
Yeah.
I was pretty stunned by that.
Well, I mean, we called Florida around 8:30 p.m.
Yeah.
and we called it for Trump at 11:30, and then and then we went home at midnight, and then I went home, did some jumping jacks, hit myself in the face, and then went on Fox from 3 to 5 in the morning.
I know, it was hilarious. CNN, they had their little map of America, and you could tell they were just trying to distort it in ways to make it look like Hillary still had a chance. At one point, they just put up the Canadian map, and they were just like, Justin Trudeau's our president. They just tried to convince everybody that Trump wasn't going to be the next leader of the free world, and you could tell the panic setting in right around as soon as the first numbers started to come in.
Exactly, it was like the Titanic.
It really was.
The maiden voyage, the greatest ship, the most safe ship of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hillary Clinton's campaign. Oh, she's running against Donald Trump. That's the safest ship of all time. A lot of confidence on both ends, and they both went down.
That's it. And somewhere there was a version of Leonardo DiCaprio holding a version of Kate Winslet out of a balcony, and they were screaming, and they were having a super romantic time, and then they yelled, Trump! And they were all dead in the water a few hours later. It's unbelievable. You're correct. It was reminiscent of, as we were not alive during the sinking of the Titanic, but to your analogy, I think you're completely correct.
That's a good analogy, right?
Confidence was extremely high, and the champagne bottles were being popped and smashed on the side of the ship well before they realized it was a failed vessel.
It's a good analogy, right? I thought of it around 11:30 p.m. yesterday when I was walking around the street.
Boom. That's classic. That's classic, Tim.
I think a lot about historical tragedies. Do you think that weirds people out when I talk about the Edmund Fitzgerald, the Titanic, the Donner Party?
No, absolutely not. Specifically not the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I mean, Gordon Lightfoot keeps the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald alive for all to hear on a regular basis.
Yesterday was the anniversary of the final voyage.
Really? The last one ever, huh?
Yeah, it went down.
Huh. Look at that.
I really, listen, guys, I really don't feel good.
You look great. I've changed my opinion. I'm flip-flopping on this. Now you look wonderful.
I'm gonna lean back a little bit.
That's good.
And kind of like, I wish I could loosen my pants, but they're stretchy pants. So like the whole point was that they're supposed to be comfortable.
That's the problem. I love pants that grow with you.
I know.
You know, pants that just kind of go through the meal and evolve or devolve with the participant.
I wear only leggings these days.
Perfect. No one even notices.
No one even notices that I'm gaining weight.
I barely fit in a size 38 jean now, and man, that's depressing.
Yeah, Ben's a giant man. For
giant.
All you listeners at home, Ben is one of the largest people that have ever been born.
I am in the top 1 percentile, and certainly one of the largest people that have ever been born by my mother.
Yeah.
Although my older brother is much larger, but you know.
Well, he's not.
He's 7 feet tall. My oldest, not my middle brother. He's the tiny one at 6'4".
I don't know this man. Do I know this man?
Well, he's the one who wears a lot of high heels and dresses and things like that. He lives in Florida. He does drag, but he doesn't shave anything. And that's fine, but I would prefer to see a little bit more effort. I don't know. Maybe it's because there isn't a bathtub big enough for him to shave in. I'm not sure. Maybe he has to go to the municipal pool, and then when you start shaving your legs in that, they quickly escort you out.
I'm sure they do. That's what's really disgusting, Ben, is my face right now.
Mm-hmm.
No,
It represents what's happening in America, though, Kat. You wear it like a hypercolor of emotion.
Should I tell people I'm wearing all black and looking like shit and as a feminist act?
Yeah, you can say as a woman, you're allowed to use that card whenever you want to. I was stunned with the voters, specifically white women. 53% of them came out in favor of Donald Trump. 50% of the suburban women came out, or suburbanites in general, came out in favor of Donald Trump. Those numbers to me were absolutely astonishing. I really did not expect him to win white women, and of course 94. And I want to talk to you about this because I talked about it a little bit on my show. But 94% of black women voted for Hillary Clinton. Is this a massive rift in feminism? Because I was looking on Slate and looking on Jezebel, and it seems like white women and black women are in quite a feud right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the thing about Hillary, I hate, like, it being, like, feminist or not feminist or this or that. I mean, she's just, like, a really bad candidate.
Right.
She's just, like, I couldn't vote for her. And I'm a woman. But, I mean, I think there is, with the white and black, and it's like, well, you can vote, you can, not vote for her because you're white privilege and this or that. But I don't really see, and again, I'm a white person, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But is she this, like, amazing advocate for minorities? Like, what has she done? Can you think of anything?
Well, that is one of the issues. I mean, if you watch that great documentary, 13th, it's on Netflix right now. It talks a lot about slavery and how the prison industrial complex has basically just replaced it. And you could argue slavery is better than ever with the PIC as it is right now. And they do demonize Hillary Clinton for her work in the 1990s, specifically the 1033 program in 96 and the crime bill in 94. Sending mostly many minorities off to die in wars that she had voted for. So, I mean, to your point, other than symbolic gestures and symbolic olive branches, I don't know. I mean, obviously, the voter turnout was extremely low amongst the black community, certainly lower than Barack Obama, which would make sense.
Yeah.
Being the first black president, you're going to get some people out there. But I think, maybe they did just see a lot of hypocrisy with that, and they didn't see the actual results that she was promising. And I guess it just it resonated enough with people.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's really interesting to see where feminism goes, and you're on the forefront of it. I follow it. I mean, I can't really get that involved, believe it or not. I'm a cis white straight, or is that what? Yeah, I'm a straight white man, a straight white man, and they don't want my opinion.
A cisgender.
But it is fascinating.
Cisgender.
I am a cisgender.
You're
okay.
a cisgender.
I was feeling an interesting, and I talked about this on the show also, not to continue to plug my own show, but
plug. He's got a lot of shows, a lot of podcasts.
Yeah,
He's
we do very
good.
well.
He's very good, doing a very good job. I'm gonna wheel over here and plug in my vape. Keep talking.
I gotta say, and I want to get your opinion, Kat. Working at Fox News, we're on many panels. You're doing a lot more panels than I am. I'm doing the producer side of it. Did you feel any remorse or guilt being part of the the company that really did? I mean, MSNBC and CNN have their own cross to bear.
Yeah,
they gave them
Scotty Nell Hughes.
Right, and they gave Trump
what's she say again? Mazel Tov cocktail.
Mazel Tov cocktail, which I think that was a slip of the tongue.
Yeah, I said blazing saddles instead of guns blazing on air once, and I called my dad sobbing. I cried the whole way home.
Oh my!
I was like,
God.
I'll never be on TV again. And my dad was like, that's kind of cute. That's not a big deal. I was like, they hate me. Well, when I call my father and I'm like, I just said something horrible on TV. I'll never be on TV again. Imagine what he's thinking. He's thinking something bad.
Right, and you just made Blazing Saddles is a great reference because then at least people get to think about comedy and the late Gene Wilder. I think Blazing Saddles as opposed to Guns A-Blazing is a fine slip-up.
All right, but yeah.
But, I mean, did you feel, I mean, what is media's role in the rise of Donald Trump? He got so much free media, millions and millions and millions of dollars of it. The ratings were through the roof, 24 million people watching these debates. I mean, as people who are not Trump supporters or that, I do not like the men's, it depends. If Trump goes just down the fiscal Trump path and is like sort of a moderate, I don't really care that much. I don't hate that side of Donald Trump, his more centrist New York views. But the Mike Pence wing of the Trump combo.
Yeah, the shocking the gay men.
The shocking the gay men. I mean, conversion therapy is what Marcus Bachmann, Michelle Bachmann's husband, proposes in Minnesota, and before she was ousted in 14. It obviously didn't work for Marcus Bachmann. I mean, it's insane. Both of my older brothers are gay. They were born that way. I promise you, they were not small twinks either. They were huge men.
Yeah.
And so I am just concerned that the social policies for Donald Trump could, really play heavily in this in his administration. So I mean, what do you feel anything about that? Like working at Fox News this whole time?
I don't, because it's absolutely all of it's all the media, and you have to cover. I wrote about this, like with the Michael Stipe, the REM guy, talking to Alec Baldwin, like asking him kind of the same question about Saturday Night Live,
right? Just
because it's all exposure. Did you he says he blames the media completely,
right?
You can't, but it's he won the primary. He's the candidate. Well, you got to cover him. You got to talk about him. And, what he was doing, he was making, he was doing things that you had to talk about.
Right.
Like the things that he was doing on Twitter. You can't, if you're a media company, you're trying to make money, you are going to cover it when he tweets out at 2 or 3 in the morning. Check, says she's terrible, horrible. Check sex tape and past.
Oh, my God.
I mean,
yeah.
That's you have to cover that.
And Megyn Kelly talked a little bit about that as well in an article that is being released like 5 days from now or something, but they leaked it to the New York Times or gave it to the New York Times to read. Yeah, I mean, it is fascinating. You do have to cover it, and you try to be as critical as possible. But, yeah, I'm just – you do wonder, and a lot of people I did see on Twitter also, they're listing people to blame on Twitter.
Yeah,
Lorne Michaels being one of them for allowing Trump to host SNL. But you can't just say that, because I believe the American people in this election, one of the positive things, in my opinion, they did send a message to the elite Hollywood left and the James Woods and Ted Nugents of the world, I guess, the right. They didn't listen to them. They didn't listen to Lena. They didn't care that Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Nobody listens to Lena.
No one listens to Lena. No one listens to Lady Gaga. I actually believe they hurt Hillary Clinton's campaign. Her campaign seemed shallow the entire time because they gutted the grassroots. It was a theatrical tree that had no actual roots in the ground, as opposed to Donald Trump, which was a grassroots campaign. So what do you think this means for celebrity endorsements going forward? I said Lena Dunham endorsing Hillary after she made a video calling for the extermination of all straight white men was the equivalent of Donald Trump getting endorsed by the KKK. So now people are just like, to the degree that they want an extermination of another group. I mean, so maybe they should all just shut up.
I think they should all just shut up. I mean, I'm not a Trump supporter, okay? I think that this is, I mean, maybe it's going to be great. You never know. Maybe he'll be the greatest president of all time. As a woman, it's terrifying. But at the same time, it's like, it's funny to see, like, Amy Schumer flipping her shit.
Right.
And Lena Dunham flipping her shit. Everyone in Hollywood flipping their shit. They're like, but we told you not to.
Yeah.
But we told you not to. It's like you sing and you tell jokes. Like, you can have your opinion, but they think that their opinion, because they're entertainers, makes them more important than everyone else. And I guess people are seeing through that. People actually don't give a shit if you have Bruce Springsteen. By the way, I hate Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, leave him alone, Kat.
Everyone gets so mad at me. Of all the things I've ever said to get me in, the Star Wars thing was pretty bad.
Yeah, that got you a series of death threats.
Yeah,
but also a pen pal lover from prison.
I did.
So that was kind of nice.
That's a brag, but I don't write him back. It's all one-sided.
That's good.
I'm not there yet.
Right. He's working on you.
I also write for National Review. Yesterday we had an office party.
Yes.
For one of the guys who was leaving, and I said in the office party, someone was like, just got married. I was like, am I the only single person in this office? And it got silent.
Well, speaking of which, my girlfriend works at National Review, and Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know what like a publication like that, which tried to take the high ground, never Trump, right out of the gates. They supported candidates like Ted Cruz, and I think Ted was really their main guy, but I'm sure Jeb, they would have had no problem with him or any other of the Republican candidates. I don't know, where do they go? They pigeonholed. It's not like liberals are going to start reading the National Review, and it's not like the coalition that was anti-Trump inside the Republican Party is large enough to facilitate a magazine. And it seems like Trump was able to. He got the exact demographic that they are reliant on for readership. So what does National Review do?
There's people who write positive things about Trump.
There are
in the National Review. Like,
okay,
the editors aren't, but there's certain columnists who are writing positive things about Trump. But every day, I get tweets like, William F. Buckley is rolling around in his grave. I do give
if
them.
that's the case, we got to get him out of there.
I'm like,
he's alive. Get Buckley out of that grave.
Oh, I'm eating Skittles and drinking beer. I'm gonna, you just down to go to a very tall building with me after this and just fling ourselves off of it.
You know what, I am, and I'll probably just land on my feet and be like, "That was fine," and then you'll be smashed on the ground like a watermelon at a Gallagher concert.
My dad would be so mad at you.
If what?
If I died.
And I live? No, I'll just get blonde hair. I'll tell him I'm Kat, and we have a great relationship.
You guys do. Remember when you got all drunk and asked him to be your father?
Yes, and I think he said, "All right."
He said, "Sure."
And he is in now.
He said, "Sure."
He's got a lot of bills he has to pay.
He said, "Sure," and took a sip of it. Yeah, when you helped me move into my apartment, and you were just like, you're so tall that when you're drunk, it's terrifying.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of like. You got to be worried about it.
Oh, I mean, if I start flailing around, I mean, the whole place could go down. So I know with great height comes great responsibility, and quite frankly, when I'm drunk, I don't care.
Something really bad happened to me last night. Look, I broke this nail.
Who did you break it inside of?
What was it inside of?
I don't know, Kat. I don't know where your stories end, but oftentimes it ends with inside of.
No, it doesn't.
All right.
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Who am I inside of?
I don't know.
It doesn't even make any sense.
It's fine.
Look at it.
Yes, Kat, it's a broken.
How am I supposed to report the news now?
This is the biggest deal of the week for you, the broken nail?
I mean, it's the one that,
the one that it hits close to home.
It hits close to my finger.
I am shocked that your nails are actually painted and done at all. I've never seen you with shiny nails, and there's some glitter on the top of them, as if you were just picking the late David Bowie's nose or something like that.
Oh, that'd be cute.
That would be kind of cute.
I could pick David Bowie's nose all day.
You could still go do it. Again, we would have to exhume a corpse, but we could make this happen.
I think that's illegal.
It's way illegal. The majority of what we do together is extremely illegal.
That's true. The majority of what I do is imagine like trying to dig up David Bowie's corpse, and I was like, "Look, I just wanted to pick his nose to see if there was stardust in it."
I double dog dared her when we were pretty trash, and so we had to follow through with it because that was a double dog.
I keep hitting whenever I do my podcast, and I can always tell the times are tough when I start hitting my big front teeth on the microphone.
Times are tough for everybody.
They're really tough.
But, that was really the thing. Going back to Trump for a second, I think what helped him, again, was he never lost momentum. That grassroots candidacy, that Hillary-Bernie divide, when the Bernie train derailed, the people that were on that train did not walk across the pond and get on the recovery train. They either stayed there or they looked for a different mode of transportation. And there was a massive fracture in the Hillary campaign that they never were able to heal. And Trump never had that, despite all of the controversies. He was just 100% go the entire time for these past 16 months. June 16th, 2015, when he announced he was up. And at no point did he lose the lead. Never.
Remember that speech?
It was so, it was
unbelievable. I'm very rich, Mexicans. And it was like an hour long.
It rambled. I do have to say this, though. One of the benefits is Melania. I love Melania Trump. She is the second first lady to be foreign born. The first, of course, being John Quincy Adams' wife, Louisa. And I don't know if Louisa ever posed nude, but maybe she did. And Melania is going to make that White House extremely extravagant. And her campaign to be against cyberbullying, very ironic, but I also think that's a great campaign for a first lady.
Ironic. I mean, that's what I have to wonder. When she does the anti-cyberbullying, and when they're in that meeting discussing that, are they laughing?
I think they have to laugh.
I'm
pretty sure.
Are they like, what's the most outrageously hilarious thing we can do?
Yeah.
I mean, these people, these Trump people, the things that they tweet at me.
Oh my God.
Are atrocious.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, and I'm not saying all Trump supporters, but like, you know, the ones with deplorable and the little frog in their name.
Yeah.
They'll tweet me the most horrible shit I've ever heard.
Well, that's the strange thing with Donald Trump, and I had an odd feeling on Tuesday, November 8th here. I texted my mother. First of all, because I voted for Gary Johnson this year, I did what Gary Johnson would do. I'm not going to tell you what that was before I voted, but let's just say it was cloudy. So then I did my voting. I also woke up with someone stole my identity and charged about $1,000 over at Target. I was like, this is the Trump campaign trying to get me angry to vote for him. I went to the bar, and I texted my mom. I was like, Mom, just tell me who you're voting for. They're evangelical Christians. If I cursed as a child, I would get my ass kicked. My father would be livid if I cursed as a kid. I could not. We did not live in a swearing house at all. And so I was wondering, like, you know, Trump's rhetoric and just who he is as a person. Could my evangelical mother vote for him? She told me she did. And at that point, I was like, oh, no, this could really go in Trump's direction. Also, the mock vote that they did in Israel a few days before the election, they gave it to Trump. For evangelicals, that vote matters more than any polls here in our country. Evangelicals love the state of Israel.
Oh, yeah.
They are crazy for it. And because, of course, they believe as soon as Israel gets the Gaza Strip, then they go fight the Israelis, and then Jesus comes back. It's convoluted and strange. But there were a few things and all the evangelicals, I was just wondering if they would fall in line, and they did. And I think that's where he was able to win white women.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, well, because, a lot of them are saying I can't vote for a person who, supports abortion.
That's my mom. She texted me back. I'm voting pro-life and pro-Israel. We don't love the messenger. We're voting Trump. But it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
When he was pro-life as of June 15th or 16th, 2015. I mean, he's not a pro-life candidate.
Mm-mm.
But then you do have the Mike Pences of the world, and you wonder, you watch. I love House of Cards. I know it's a little bit boring. Season 3, I think, is unwatchable. But you wonder, how much does Mike Pence get? What's his say in this White House? Because the social conservative values that he espouses on a regular basis are those are the dangerous policies.
Yeah.
If John Kasich would have just said yes to being the VP for Trump, I would feel a lot better today.
Yeah. Mike Pence?
John Kasich. If Kasich would have said yes to being the VP.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I would feel better. I'm just worried that Pence will have such a say in the administration.
Yeah, can they overturn gay marriage?
I don't think, and they won't overturn anything in the courts, but what they can do, for example, like Roe v. Wade, what happens in states like Texas where they'll start to close down institutions that might participate in abortions. They don't have to, federally sue them. I mean, the Obama administration would just federally sue states that were doing things that they deemed unconstitutional. But this administration won't be doing that. So there'll be no stop when some of these more evangelical states decide to do socially conservative things.
Right. Do you think they'll defund Planned Parenthood?
$500 million a year is given to Planned Parenthood. It's really not the most amount of money. The Planned Parenthood could operate without federal government money. I would not be surprised if they did. They have the Senate, they have the Congress, they have the House, they have the Senate, they have the full Congress. I would not be surprised if they did end up passing a defund Planned Parenthood bill. I don't know, but if they do, if we've seen anything from the Trump campaign, now we realize money, support for these groups is easier than ever to get before. Planned Parenthood just needs to do an organic grassroots.
I agree with that.
A borderline GoFundMe type situation.
If they were ever defunded, it would be like everyone would be all up in arms, and they probably make way more money. Like that's where the Lena Dunhams can help, come in.
And that's where conservatives are upset, right? Because that's if you are very pro-life and you have the government giving $500 million to an institution that does perform abortions, and I know a lot of people are like, the money doesn't go for abortions, but whatever money they get in, they can put that into a different place.
Right. That doesn't make sense. The money doesn't go towards abortions. It's like, what are you talking? It's their money. It's all their money.
Yeah, they can use that money. Like, they can say that they can allocate that money to something that then take that money and allocate that money to abortions, or whether it be prenatal care or whatever it might be. So yeah, I mean, why can't we just have privately funded groups? Private organizations privately funded from the people that are supporters of it. I mean, I would have no problem doing a Patreon type thing and giving Planned Parenthood $3 a month or $1 a month or $5 a month, whatever it might be. It doesn't take a lot.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's been very cautious. I love what you said about the POTUS Twitter account being overtaken by Trump.
Oh my God, what's it going to be?
That's exciting.
He already tweeted at the rioters in Baltimore, and I say rioters because it turned into a riot later at night. Started as a peaceful protest, and obviously as the sun goes down, so does all remnants of class. He's just like upset. He already did not. He did not try to unite anybody that was coming against him at this point. So I really hope, and I've been hoping this for a very long time, that he has the capability and the understanding to like try to acknowledge people are pissed off and acknowledge that people are really scared and angry, soothe them a little bit, and then try to get them under his umbrella and be like, hey, but we have 4 years together, let's do it. But right now, he already, with his first tweet regarding the protests in Baltimore, it seemed like...
What was the exact tweet?
It was just, yeah, I mean, you can find it. He said, I just had a wonderful meeting with Barack Obama, and now professional protesters inspired by the media or created by the media, something like that, are out there. It's unfair. He said it was unfair, which is something that he loves to talk about.
Yeah, everything's rigged and nothing is fair. I'm gonna
Yes.
try to look up the exact tweet right now.
Yes, he channels his inner Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders with his unfair rhetoric, which is interesting to say the least.
Where, I mean, it'd be, oh my gosh, Donald Trump. He's his Twitter bio, President-elect of the United States.
I mean, when I woke up and I got my New York Post. It was the closest I've ever had to feeling like I'm living a dream and I wasn't sure if I was awake. It has been such a strange outside idea that Trump would one day be the president of the United States. When it actually comes to reality, I think even a lot of the people that supported him were sort of taken aback because it was such a long shot. By all traditional polling metrics, which are now obviously completely gone out the window. Breitbart's polls were much more accurate, and what is it, Kellyanne
Conway.
Kellyanne Conway will go down as the greatest political manager of all time when it comes to campaign management. When he was in Wisconsin, when he was campaigning in Minnesota, everyone's like, why is he in these blue states? And it turns out they had internal polling that said they weren't so blue. And so he really did shake up our entire philosophy and our entire thinking regarding polls. He ran a 2016 election against somebody who was still running a 1990. Or he ran a 2016 campaign against someone running a 1990 campaign, and it showed.
I'm not seeing this Baltimore tweet though.
Oh, he definitely didn't delete it. He doesn't delete.
I do see one that says, "Love the fact that the small groups of protesters last night have passion for our great country."
No, he's got another one. Let's find it. Donald Trump's Twitter. This is the one thing about Trump. Every single day, great governance, in my personal opinion, means that I never have to think about the government. The trains run on time, stoplights work, we have roads. But with Trump, it is going to be, this one. Just had a very open and successful presidential election. Now professional protesters incited by the media are protesting. Very unfair.
It's not unfair. How is it unfair?
It's unfair to him.
You can protest whatever you want to. Although the idea of them protesting doesn't really make sense because it's like, what are they protesting?
Well, I mean, I do agree with that because he won the election outright. I mean, granted, obviously Hillary won the popular vote, 60% voter turnout, but it seems to be about as fair as any presidential election that we've had. Certainly more fair than the election in the year 2000. So, yeah, he won it outright and he won it fair and square. They're protesting a bit too late. I would love to interview everybody who has hit the streets and ask them who they voted for or if they voted, because I wouldn't be surprised if many of them hadn't voted at all. So there will be a little bit of unrest here. It's just up to him. Hopefully he can address it and try to qualm these things as opposed to, just stoke the anger and try to smash them down with.
What do you think of all the people that are furious at you for voting third party?
It's a total and utter lie. Gary Johnson, I proudly voted for Gary Johnson on Election Day. He got 3%. He quadrupled the Libertarian Party previously in 2012. They got 1%, which was a record at that point. There is no way the numbers the people that went for Gary Johnson, if all of them would have voted, first of all, most of them, in my personal opinion, would have voted for Donald Trump or stayed at home. I think there's a very small Venn diagram of Gary Johnson
Right.
supporters who then had Hillary as their second choice. I think the Bernie Sanders supporters, there's a much larger Venn diagram that went over and supported Donald Trump for his populist message. And he was talking about the 1%. Wall Street isn't thrilled with Donald Trump's economic ideas. So that's all a lie. That's all just blaming, not looking in the mirror and not self-reflecting and not understanding the mistakes that Hillary Clinton made during her entire campaign. I mean, the mistakes were absolutely vast, and her as a candidate was extremely flawed. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, these WikiLeaks things, just proving the fix was in for Bernie Sanders, were totally off-putting to everybody.
Yeah,
then
proving it was like unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
I don't understand. If you're in the does the DNC realize? Does it realize that if you have to play dirty to get your candidate through the primary, maybe she's not the right one for the general?
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Maybe.
And these primaries, these are the grassroots of American politics.
Right.
I mean, that's where it's supposed to be. When you start off in Iowa, I mean, hell, Rick Santorum won the damn thing in 2012 was the most astonishing thing I'd ever thought I'd ever see, or one of them, which obviously that's way down the list now. No, anyone who blames third-party voters is completely out of touch, completely missing the entire point of why Hillary Clinton lost. And if you want to continue to scapegoat third parties, feel free, but then be ready to lose every single election process.
Right.
Gary Johnson ran a, he didn't get that much media coverage, and a lot of the media coverage he did get, he's a goofball. I love my goofy Gare Bear, but he is a goofball. But he ran a valid political campaign, and I agreed with the majority of his policy platforms, and I had no problem casting my vote for him because I voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary, and I was like, well, if Bernie would have been against Trump, I would have voted for Bernie Sanders.
You think Bernie would have won?
I don't know anything for a fact, but I believe that Bernie Sanders would have beaten him.
I think he would have really had a shot, yeah.
I think an absolute shot. It's that not even white working class, it's that working class gutted. It's the gutted working class of this country that got this election to swing in their favor. And I think Bernie Sanders would have been able to really capitalize on the economic strife without the hateful rhetoric of Donald Trump. So I think it would have been
hateful rhetoric of Donald Trump?
I know, shocking. But it would have been he would have been an organic grassroots candidate, and the Democrats should have let him win the primary. They learned a really hard lesson because they wanted to play identity and gender politics, and they realized politics are bigger than that. Politics are about economics and about individuals just wanting to get through their day and be given a hand up, and they completely dropped the ball. So I give no. And if you look at the numbers when it comes to third party candidates, Gary Johnson did not sway the election for one or the other. It's a total misnomer. It's a complete and utter lie. And if you're feeling that way, look in the mirror and see where your candidate went wrong or went right, because Gary was just running. Everyone in this country, and this is one good thing about this, everyone in this country needs to seek public office at least once. You win, lose, who cares? But just do something. Get involved, and don't demonize individuals who did get involved because your person won or lost.
Yeah, absolutely. You going to run for president?
Absolutely not. I have zero chance. But I do want to run for mayor of New York, but I'm trying to figure out how to I'm so busy. I want to write a book. I've got a bunch of things to do.
You're going to run. That's great.
I think so. Or maybe for Congress or something if I move back to Wisconsin. Something that I could actually win would be really nice. Mayor of New York, I mean, God knows who's going to win that in this cycle. But, yeah, I mean, get involved. How about you? I mean, Katherine Timpf. Kat Timpf.
Kat Timpf for something or other. I don't know. I think that people might go through some of my old tweets.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my voice has been recorded for a decade, like 7 hours a week. I mean, God knows what I've said. Right. So, yeah. But Donald Trump has proven that you don't have to have a squeaky clean record when it comes to
unbelievable.
verbiage.
But do you think that's going to carry over? Like, do you think that's going to make it more acceptable for other people to speak freely, or do you think it only works that way for him?
I mean, I think it works that way for him because he is also so wealthy. I mean, not every drunk at the end of the bar who, constantly cusses about his ex-wife is, going to be able to be mayor or president or, a congressperson. But I guess it is it does show that the level of discourse in this country, the new normal for rhetoric, is a little bit more foul-mouthed than previous. I mean, and if you look at pop culture, and this is not even an indictment. I like a lot of pop culture, but if you do look at mainstream music and things like that, and movies, it is. If you're not swearing, I'm not watching it. Yeah, I'm not listening to it. I mean, it's just we have a lower vocabulary than ever before. I mean, this should not. I mean, when FDR was doing fireside chats, when FDR was giving his State of the Unions, the average person that would listen to that they would say it was like a senior in high school level. It has now been downgraded. Even Obama's State of the Union addresses, they're at the level of roughly a 6th or 7th grader. We've been going on this slow decline of intellectualism. Donald Trump is going to bring that to a level of a middle schooler. When he gives his State of the Union addresses, it will be to the point where a middle schooler can understand fully what he is saying.
But he'll say stuff like, "Folks, it's bad. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get people. I got good people." But like, is he saying anything?
Nothing. And that is the strange thing too, because middle schoolers are going to be able to understand so much of what the president is saying. They're going to think that they can be like, I'm just as smart as he is, and then they're going to say those things on the playground or wherever it is, and it's like, we're already starting to see some stories. I do think they're more isolated than the media wants to make them out to be. I think they want to expand them right now and magnify them. But people will be acting in a more aggressive way towards individuals that Donald Trump was demonizing during this campaign.
Do you think? What do you think about? Everyone's freaking out about his foreign policy. He's going to tweet his way into a war with, North Korea or whatever.
I think he's going to sit down with Kim Jong-un. They're going to love each other.
Eat
multiple pizzas. Go look at some random glue being shoved through a random tube that Kim Jong-un calls food. And, his foreign policy is fairly similar to Barack Obama's in a strange way. He just wants to work with Putin. I mean, he doesn't care if Putin takes the Ukraine. He doesn't care if Putin gets the Baltic states back. Quite frankly, if you go back to the 70s, 80s, 60s, 50s, the Cold War, at least we knew who our enemy was. At least we could make a movie where Rocky symbolized America and Dolph symbolized the Russians, and people were like, pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. There's no outside interference coming in from some random, corner or some crowd member throwing a grenade in the ring, which is what our foreign policy is now. There's so many players. You almost get the feeling that we don't mind having the Russians come back and having a little bit more force in that region because we know how to deal with them. And quite frankly, they are more Western than the individuals that we're fighting in the Middle East.
Yeah, and people talk about Trump's going to get us in all these wars. She's like one of the most hawkish people in the history of modern politics.
That's why I could never get behind her. I mean, I do think she was a conservative in this race. Trump is this bizarre purple populist. I don't know. But again, the concern is what Trump shows up, what Trump wakes up on Tuesday morning.
Right.
One day he wants peace with everybody. Next thing you know, like you were saying, he got a mean tweet, from Angela Merkel, and we just went to war with Germany. I don't know. I mean, and I think that's really where the fear is with a lot of people. They just don't know. And the one great thing about, Barack Obama, it was stable. The government was relatively stable, and they're trying to maintain that stability. I think Hillary Clinton gave a great concession speech. Barack Obama being like, we want a smooth transition of power. Mike Pence is in charge of the transition of power. I think he's going to Underwood Donald Trump and become the president in some strange way. I would not be surprised at all, which is absolutely horrifying. But we have to just hope he brings enough rational minds around him that will allow him to guide his foreign policy in a way that is not devastating for our country. I think it's just really just the uncertainty that has people going right now.
Yeah, and the expectations of a Trump presidency are very low. With Obama, remember, he was supposed to have. Everyone thought he was going to solve all the problems of the whole world.
But that's Trump. I think the expectations of Trump's presidency goes from we're going to have a nuclear war with the Chinese to this is going to be heaven on earth, and everyone is going to be, the rivers are going to be full of honey and milk, which doesn't sound fun to swim in. But, but that's how so it's like this. Both people have such polar opposite visions of what Donald Trump's America is going to look like. Obviously, it'll be something in the middle because that's exactly what he ran his campaign on. He's a horoscope. Everyone can look at him and deduce something different from what he's saying. You know?
And I mean, no matter what he says or does, though, I don't see his supporters turning away from him. They'll be like, yeah, well, the reason he did that is because the mainstream media made him or something like that. Like,
right.
It's not going to – they're never going to blame him for anything.
Oh, my God. His supporters still believe the system was entirely rigged, and they think he overcame it. I mean, the godlike status they're giving to this frumpy 70-year-old billionaire is astonishing. I mean, you wonder – we do look at nations like North Korea, and we're like Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-soon. They're dumpy, frumpy, dickheads. Kim Jong-un eats so much damn cheese he hasn't shat in months, and they put them on the level of a deity. And we have done a similar thing with Donald Trump. Like, he could actually fight anybody. Like, people actually believe Donald Trump could knock out Joe Biden or knock out, like, Mike Tyson or something. He would shrivel up like Jason Voorhees being covered in rain. Jason Voorhees had a rain. That was his main crutch, was rain, Jason Voorhees. Anyway, as we saw in Freddy vs. Jason, a wonderful horror film, he would shrivel up like a sniveling child if anybody came close to doing exactly what you have on your finger right now, which is hurting his nail.
It hurts.
I know.
What do you think happens to the wall?
I mean, what is the wall? I've already heard people be like, it's symbolic. It's a symbolic wall. It would cost billions and billions of dollars. Is it that insane? I mean, the fact that he got 29% of the Hispanic vote, 25% of the Hispanic female vote.
Yeah.
So this wall idea, it wasn't that much of a turnoff to many Hispanic Americans.
Right. No,
really
not.
And, I mean, do we see a tangible wall in these next 4 years between the red tape of Washington, D.C. and what we would have to do? I would be stunned if we see any wall at all in any way. I think it's more of a symbolic thing. I mean, it's sad. There's kids. I'm getting a lot of messages, from people. What was it, DAPA? There was under Obama's administration, if you were an illegal citizen, there's one kid who came here at 6. He just emailed me. And he let them register.
A 6-year-old kid emailed you?
No, he's now 21.
Oh.
He came here at 6.
Oh, I gotcha.
And they signed up for the government for this program. I believe it's called DAPA. And it basically promised them citizenship if they went through a series of steps. Trump has promised to get rid of that. So there is a lot of people who are extremely anxious and extremely nervous if he actually follows through with some of those plans. And so I think that to them is more scary than building this stupid wall.
The wall was people were like, gonna build the wall.
Build a wall. I don't know. Maybe it'll be an HGTV show. Build the wall.
It'll just be the wall will have Trump all over it. Trump.
Oh my God.
Trump. I mean, what an amazing story.
It is.
I mean, you have to go from the host of The Apprentice to the president of the United States.
With that, I mean, I think voter turnout. I mean, granted, it wasn't as low as I thought it was going to be, but I think the people that did come out to vote, there were so many individuals that were just completely turned off by this election cycle. I mean, sexual assault was just said on, I'm going to say willy-nilly. It was just thrown out there, and I think it actually did a disservice to the people who have really suffered from those sorts of crimes, because it did normalize it as an activity that isn't completely offensive.
Right,
he's the
president.
Billy Bush, like you tweeted, Billy Bush was fired.
Yeah, and Billy Bush got fired over that, and then Donald Trump's the president.
So there's something wrong there, right?
Something very wrong there, especially because, he's saying crazy stuff, and, Billy Bush is kind of laughing along. I mean, whenever I'm talking to someone or interviewing someone who says crazy stuff, I'm never like, that's problematic, stop it. Because it's just like an interview. I mean, I don't know. And compared to him saying, I actually, sexually assault people.
I mean, it's extremely interesting. So, I mean, we'll see. I think, at the end of the day, everything will have to be fine. It's only 4 years, which is a long time.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's a fascinating turn of events. One of the most interesting things in U.S. political history. That's why it's been so fun to fun in many ways to follow this. I mean, we've sort of bonded over these past 6 months. Our friendship is really sort of grown under, with this strange political cycle and climate. So I've been going through sort of shock, a little bit of awe to take a little Bush policy internally, and then really self-reflecting and feeling hungover emotionally because we've been talking about this election for so long.
I know. It's I don't even know what to talk about and what to do anymore.
It's all done. And in the biggest upset in political history, Hillary Clinton will go down as the worst presidential candidate in the history of the nation.
How do you think that do you think she regrets staying married to Bill for so long?
Because it didn't even work.
It didn't even work. That's what she
could have found love. She could have, if she is a lesbian, which would be totally fine with me, she could have just done that. Yeah. She could have been, I don't know. It certainly didn't seem to help in this cycle. Bill Clinton lost all the charm that he had. And, the Kathleen Wiley, Broadericks of the world. Yeah. I mean, they made this election so disgusting. And they didn't make it so disgusting, but, the fact that that they're
their stories and what Bill the accusing Bill
that
of
Bill
doing.
yeah Bill made this disgusting.
Yeah.
You know, it's not them that made it disgusting. It's Bill that made it disgusting, and Trump too. So yeah, I don't know. That's a great question, and I really do wonder if they get divorced. I mean, or if Bill just dies of an accidental suicide.
Oh my gosh.
Who knows?
I mean, I what is she doing right now? Do you think she's drunk?
I hope so.
I heard she's like a big boozer, which I respect.
I wish she would have been herself a little bit more on the campaign trail, and I think a lot of people wanted that, and I think there's going to be a lot of reflection on her part. And you know, this whole going back to what we were talking about with the WikiLeaks and the DNC and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and just guaranteeing that Bernie Sanders loses, Donna Brazile, who's a talking head on CNN, then immediately becoming the head of the DNC. They were just so blatant. Even having the you know, the superdelegates call it for Hillary before the first vote was cast.
Right.
They were so obvious and transparent with their fraudulent system. I think people were just turned off right away.
I agree.
I mean, it was insane. Why would they didn't even pretend like it was a fair fight.
No, they didn't.
It was her turn. It was gender identity politics, and that's it. I mean, what the hell? I mean, they were really They acted like they had it in the bag, and they acted like a series of spoiled brats, and they talked down to the American people to the point where the American people overlooked every single personality flaw of Donald Trump, and just said, fuck it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think it's also interesting, too, like the things that they rigged, like the Donna Brazile, the question was about they were going to ask her about Flint. Yeah, no kidding. Like anybody that she broke the rules basically so she could leak a question to Hillary Clinton. Hey, there's a woman with a lady with a rash.
Right.
That's going to ask you about Flint. Okay, first of all, whether or not this lady has a rash
it's irrelevant.
It's pretty irrelevant. She's like, I have a rash because of Flint. That's just like, you know, personalizing a question. But you know that they're going to ask you about Flint in that debate.
Right.
You know that.
And you have to trust your candidate enough to realize that she's going to be able to improvise a good enough answer to pass the test. If somebody asks you a question when you're running for the presidency and you are completely stumped, you get one time to be stumped. Other than that, you better figure out a response that is reasonable. I mean, that's what Bill Clinton used to be able to do so well. Specifically in 1992 when he went against George H.W. Bush. They were talking, a woman was asked H.W. how the economy, if it tanks, would negatively affect him personally. H.W.'s response was absolute nonsense. He asked her to re-ask the question like 3 times. Clinton just went towards the person and just talked about the people of Arkansas and how their economic situation impacts his job. It was such a great response, and you have to trust your candidate to be able to do that. And if they can't do it, look the other way. Bernie would have answered that question perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, Bernie had this rhetoric 30 years in the making. He never broke from his economic message. He always found a way to get to his economic message. You could talk about foreign war. You can talk about identity politics. You can talk about some legalizing marijuana. You could talk about anything, and Bernie found a way to get it back to economics.
Yeah, he did.
And Hillary, she didn't have a core platform.
God, I just think about how nasty this race is. How many times he wasn't like my opponent. It was crooked Hillary Clinton.
Oh my God, he promised to put her in jail. And does he actually do that? If
that
you're
was
Hillary,
what I was just thinking.
I'm like,
he promised to put her in jail.
Oh my God. And day one, I think that they probably could.
Yeah. Lock her up. Lock her up.
Wow.
Lock her up. I mean, that's unbelievable.
It really is. So
these rallies, lock her up. Okay.
And how sad would that be? And I was thinking about this last night. And, you know, Hillary Clinton has some massive problems. And you could argue what she has done. She has done some criminal activity. I mean, just look at the $12 million they got from the Moroccan government, or what they got from the Saudis. I mean, they took a lot of money from countries that did not do a lot of good things for gay people or women. Okay.
Right.
But how sad would it be for women in this country, specifically girls in this country, if the first presidential candidate to finally get on the head of get on the head of a national ticket goes to jail? Yeah. And not only did she lose, they
went to prison.
her. It's Salem-esque. She's a witch. Put her in the stocks. I mean, they're gonna slowly roast her over a
You
fire.
too can be a presidential candidate someday, and then you'll be imprisoned.
And then you go to. I mean, I've never seen a presidential candidate go to prison following lose. I mean, so I think that would be really so sad for the girls of this country, and rational boys too. It's just sad to think about the first female president not only losing but then being sentenced to jail. Oh, that would be. There's a lot of questions we'll have to ask, and hopefully we find the answers, and hopefully they're not horrible.
Hopefully, I think we're running out of time.
Yes.
But you have anything you want to talk about that we haven't discussed yet?
I don't think so, Kat.
My other nail broke too.
I've been with you this whole time. How did you break that?
I don't know.
Catherine?
Am I gonna be okay?
Yes, you're gonna be fine.
I don't know what I'm doing tonight.
What a problem to have. You have a series of things to do. I'm going to be recording my Adult Swim live stream at 7:30. Check that out. You can find me on KF Comedy Radio, Last Podcast on the Left, Ablingen's Top Hat, Roundtable of Gentlemen. And then, I do some stuff on Fox News. I don't know what I'm going to be doing here in the future. Who knows?
Who knows?
So we'll see.
All right, everybody, thank you for listening. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you, Kat.